Hello everyone, welcome to Dnyanadeep Academy. This is our daily answer writing series for geography optional. So what we generally practice is I post one question on our Telegram channel in the morning, and in the evening through YouTube we discuss answer for that particular question. So let us see what question do we have today. So there is a question from population geography. I have already posted how we are going to proceed with this syllabus. So go to our Telegram channel and see what all topics are enlisted for coming days. So accordingly you can prepare and move on to these issues. Fine. Now for today's session we have a question from population geography again. And here we are talking about Neo-Malthusian theory. So question reads, discuss the Neo-Malthusian theory of population. How relevant it is to say that Neo-Malthusian theory has influenced the population policy in many countries. Now, time and again I will iterate one point where it comes to be it GS or optional. Many times content remains the same. Content doesn't change. What changes is the question, and then changes how you present that content. If you have done our classes well, so you would be knowing that whenever we discuss any theory, be it any theory, if I am discussing Neo-Malthusian theory or Malthusian theory or whatnot, one thing I compulsorily do, I try to bring out present day relevance. Okay. And in those present day relevance wala point, we identify how this particular theory is applicable in contemporary world. And we have done this particular part with almost each and every single theory. Coming back to Neo-Malthusian theory, so if you look at first part of the Neo-Malthusian theory, it is theoretical, purely theoretical. You are not supposed to do any fancy thing with that. Moving on to the next part, I have just twisted the words or mingled the words. Okay, I have not asked you anything new. I am here again talking about how this Neo-Malthusian theory is dictating present day population policy. So either you will say yes, this Neo-Malthusian theory has an influence or a profound influence on present day population policies in many countries, or you will say no, Neo-Malthusian theory has no place in population policies of many countries. Now, so that is the take you have to take. So where did we learn that particular part? We only learned that part in the relevance section of that theory. Okay, moving on to the introduction, how I can introduce for this question. Let us see. So when it comes to Neo-Malthusian theory, its basis lies in Malthusian theory itself. So one way you can introduce is starting from Malthusian theory. So you will say that Malthusian theory came in so and so year and for so and so purpose, and gradually it had transformed into Neo-Malthusianism because there were certain lacunas in the Malthusian theory. That is one way you can introduce. Okay? So try. You are trying to connect Neo-Malthusian theory with that of Neo-Malthusian theory and trying to create a sequence. Other than that, I will talk about present day population policies, or I can also talk about present day population challenges. You can go either way. Fine. So if I have to choose between two introduction, I would rather go with this theoretical one than one from the contemporary or current context, because you may or may not recall that particular part. So my approach is whatever I can prepare in my notes, I'll just prepare this type of introduction in my notes. If and ever there is a question on Neo-Malthusian theory, I can introduce with Malthusian theory to Neo-Malthusian theory. That is one way I can introduce with. So just prepare that, write it into your notes, and you will be having some introductions handy. Moving on to the body part, what all you are supposed to explain. Irrespective of anything, Malthusian theory has not been asked. Even then, I will briefly mention what this Malthusian theory is. Okay, I'm not gonna miss on that. Do mention what this Malthusian theory is all about. Maybe I will spend just 20 to 30 words. Okay, I will necessarily talk about something called as Malthusian catastrophe. Mention that key term, because whenever it comes to your answers, there are certain keywords which are going to define everything. Fine. So if I'm talking about Malthusian theory, I will talk about Malthusian catastrophe, I will talk about positive checks, I will talk about preventive checks. And that is how I'm briefly introducing this Malthusian theory. Other than that, I have to in depth talk about Neo-Malthusian theory. You'll have to state why we have Neo-Malthusian theory in place. What is the fundamental purpose, right? Now, I'm not going to give any names of geographers or scientists who preferred Neo-Malthusian theory, because there are a list of people who have had followed Neo-Malthusian viewpoint, and then there is a whole school of thought which is called as Neo-Malthusianism. Fine. So I'm not going to go in that detail. I'll rather limit myself to the basic tenets of Neo-Malthusianism. Fine. So in my answer, I have these key tenets or basic tenets of Neo-Malthusianism, where I'm talking about, let's say, resource scarcity, how we are talking about population control, right? And why we are talking about population control? Because there will come a day where there will be no resources. Fundamental premise of Neo-Malthusianism is that the resources which are available on the earth are going to exhaust, and the day these resources exhaust, then there is no turning back, right? And that is why we have to limit population, because fundamental reason for exhaustion of those resources is coming somewhere out of increasing population. And that is why here I'll say we are worried about resource scarcity. We are also concerned about environmental impact, poverty, inequality, and then what we need a proactive population control. That proactive population control comes out of where? It comes out of population policies, right? So if I talk about Malthusian theory talks about preventive and positive checks. When it comes to Neo-Malthusianism accepts that there will be contraceptions and there should be use of contraceptions, and with the help of technology, we should limit our population. So that is the fundamental tenet I have to mention when it comes to Neo-Malthusian theory. Now, fundamental thing is it the first part which is going to fetch me marks? Though we have to give justice to both part of the question, you will have to spend some 30-40% of the words on first part of the question. But where do our marks lie? Our marks will be decided by the later part, because that is where your application of any theory is going to get checked, right? And when it comes to optional these days, be it any optional, fine, irrespective of your optional, these optionals have now turned into theory to application. So whatever theory you learn, you should be able to apply that, and you should be able to find a contemporary relevance of that theory. And that is why in notes itself we end up preparing whatever theory we have, let's prepare its contemporary relevance. So that was about various approaches you have to take. Now when it comes to the influence of population policies all across the globe, let's talk about some policies which are restricting population growth. Fine. So when it comes to population policies, there are fundamental words which you use. There will be pro-natalist policies. Okay. Then there are some anti-natalist policies. When I talk about pro-natalist, these are the population policies which are promoting births, because there is low population in a given population group, and that is why we need more population. So we have pro-natalist policy, then we have anti-natalist policy, where we control population or control birth rate, right? And if I talk about Neo-Malthusianism, where it is applicable the most, wherever we have anti-natalist population policies like that of China, which restricts population growth, here it is directly an outcome of Neo-Malthusianism. How I am saying that it is directly an outcome of Neo-Malthusianism? Why we are talking about population control in the first place, right? If India is talking about population control, China is very heavily coming out on population control. So why in the first place there was need to have population control? Though both of the policies or none of the policies says they are inspired by Neo-Malthusian thought. Fine. So directly there is no mentioning of Malthusian thoughts or neo-Malthusian thought in any population policy. But fundamental thing every population policy is trying to target is to control population growth, if it is an anti-natalist policy. And why we are trying to control population growth, or even at the world level, there is a thought or school of thought which says now we should limit our population. Already we are 8 billion plus. And why we are concerned about limiting? Because we know somewhere or the else this is going to take heavily on the resource availability. Already resources are scarce. Starting from water, we have scarcity, and this scarcity comes out of the huge size of population. Other than that, look at the environmental impact we have had, right? So again, this is neo-Malthusian thought, because whenever there is a population growth, there is environmental impact of it, right? And that is why if I go for, let us say, China's one-child policy or India's national population policy, all of these are somewhere or the other appear to have influenced from neo-Malthusian thought. Clear? So that is something I am going to mention in first part of my answer. So that is about anti-natalist population policy. But your answer doesn't end there, right? There are many countries where there is an impression. There is an impression of these neo-Malthusian thoughts. But there will be certain issues also. Let's talk about many countries such as Italy and Germany. Let's talk about Italy, Germany or Japan. Fine. If I look at the population control here, is it coming out of the population policy? No, it has not come out of population policy. It has somewhere come out of behavior of people, and that is where comes the behavioral geography. Whatever geographical phenomena typically in human geography you find. So not necessarily it is coming out of geographical factors. Human behavior has also something to do with it, right? If I have population decline or population control in countries such as Japan, Germany or many European countries, is it a geographical control? Is it a control coming out of neo-Malthusian? No, it is not a control which is coming out of neo-Malthusianism. It is the control which is coming out of the behavior of people. People are delaying their marriages, right? People are not choosing to get married. Even if people are married, they are not choosing to have children. Even if people are willing to have children, they will be having hardly 1 or 2 children, right? And all this situation has resulted into low population growth, right? So somewhere then countries are coming up with anti-natalist population policy. So it is the behavioral part of the humans which is dictating geographical phenomena, and as a result of which we have pro-natalist population policy which are trying to promote population birth. Now, when it comes to pro-natalist population policy, it is not coming out of neo-Malthusianism. So when I conclude on these lines. Though there are many countries whose population policy depends on, let us say, neo-Malthusian thought, but there is like a equal number of population policies or equal conditions you have where this neo-Malthusian population thought is not as relevant. Okay, so that was about neo-Malthusianism and population policies all across the globe. We'll see you once again in next session with the similar type of question. Thank you again.